Hey everyone. For as long as I can remember, I've always found women with muscles attractive, and that goes back to when I was 5, 6, 7 years old. That was particularly true with respect to women in comic books. And so it was for that reason that I became immediately attracted to Wonder Woman in 1969. That's right, when I was 7 years old. And the idea then was that Wonder Woman, as she was drawn through the 1950s, had clear muscle definition. I mean, it was obvious Diana Prince, as she was conceived of from a cartoon perspective, was a woman that clearly could do some damage with her physique, but she was also clearly feminine. It was with great excitement and anticipation that I waited for Wonder Woman to hit network television, which finally happened with Linda Carter in 1975. But I remember the first episode in immediate disappointment because Wonder Woman was skinny. Gone was the definition that the cartoon character had and was drawn with during the 1950s, during the time that Wonder Woman fought in World War II, as the story goes. This particular Wonder Woman had no muscle definition at all. Barely any muscle tone. Nothing. I was crestfallen. I had high hopes for the Bionic Woman with Lindsay Wagner, but once again, we were presented with a skinny female character. This habit continued on through the 70s, the 80s with different female superhero characters. I thought we were going to get something new in Bionic Woman, which came out in 2007 and lasted for all of one season. But while that Bionic Woman had a more athletic tone than the Bionic Woman of the past, it was never presented. Bionic Woman was never presented as a character that had muscle tone or biceps. So we went all throughout modern history of pop culture without, on television, a true presentation of a woman who was a female superhero with muscles, with biceps. All of that changed on December 14th at 8:40 p.m. approximately, Eastern Standard Time, when Melissa Benoist, who plays Supergirl, hoisted over her head a kind of representation of a portion of a building that had fallen off, that she had caught in midair to save a group of people from being killed. And this picture of her shows her exerting strength, as the story goes, of course, to lift this object, and in doing so, and then transport it through the air. And in doing so, you can see she clearly has biceps. Folks, that's the first time in pop culture history that image has ever been presented. Yes, it has taken that long to have a true image of a woman who is Supergirl, who has muscles and has biceps. The idea that has been presented to us is that women are supposed to be, even if they're strong, skinny. There should never be a depiction of a woman as if she can be stronger than a man. That, of course, has nothing to do with reality. We have constant images, constant programs and competitions with strong women, power lifters, women bodybuilders, women track stars. The list goes on and on and on. And yet, for reasons having to do with who determines what goes on television and an incorrect read of social tastes, network television has been very slow to catch up. CBS, in that context, took an incredible risk in greenlighting Supergirl. Because Supergirl not only presents a truly athletic woman, a truly strong woman, but a woman who's developing herself from someone who was less than confident when the season started to someone who was truly confident at the finale. And her body shows it. Nothing happens on television that's an accident. That was by intent. But the simple fact that Supergirl has remained popular means that its creators have discovered a formula. And I think what they've discovered is basically a kind of food, a meal that has fed those of us who have been hungry to see the image of a real, strong woman for all of our lives. Not just me, but take this blogger in 2011 who observed that no female superheroes have muscles. Hey, it's a new day. Supergirl is as important to its time today as Star Trek, the original series, was to its time. Star Trek had diverse characters, America's and the world's first interracial kiss on television, and many other firsts. Supergirl is equally path-breaking, not just for the reason I'm talking about, but also because it presents black men, straight black men, as characters that are in interracial relationships that would be desired by a woman who's white, and that would be the head of organizations, as in Mr. Harewood. They also are consistently presented as men who are not alternative in that they're not, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing as if to say being gay is bad. It is not. Please do not read that in that way. Not at all. But I'm simply saying that these men are not presented as some person that would be less threatening, if you will, to women, particularly women who would not be attracted to a black man. Indeed, there's a scene in the Supergirl finale where Cat Grant, Supergirl's boss, says, or makes mention rather, of an email that she wrote to your dearest Alba. Your dearest Alba is a famous actor, rumored to play the next James Bond, who's black, and is coming up his next role in Star Trek Beyond. And while we don't see dearest Alba's photograph, those of us who know what dearest Alba looks like, got it. That's powerful. And it sends a great message to folks like me, to black men, the straight black men, that we're valued. Because, and I say this from the perspective of running a media company, of having a blog aggregator that has over 1,000 items of news come through it each day, that I get a full tapestry of the images that we're fed in society. And the images that are tossed about with respect to black men, even at the time when the President of the United States is a black man, Barack Obama, are largely not positive. And we are bombarded with them. And in network television, a black man is commonly shown as a thug, or someone gay, or someone without a woman or a love interest. Whereas a black woman, going all the way back to Whitney Houston in The Bodyguard, is shown as being desirable to white men. The reality of our society is heavily interracial, heavily mixed. It's important that pop culture reflect our lives, and finally in 2015 we're getting pop culture that does that. In a 60 Minutes interview on Sunday, J.J. Abrams said, when asked why Star Wars The Force Awakens has a diverse cast, that he wanted to make a Star Wars, a movie, that reflected the diverse society of today. It's about time. But I digress. Thank you very much to the makers of Supergirl and the cast for presenting a view of society that is truly real, that is truly us, and that is not afraid to show a woman who's strong, who has biceps, who likes black men, who has diverse friends, who has fears and emotions, and we are allowed to share her journey in overcoming them. That's powerful. That's very powerful. And for those of you who may be listening, Supergirl does have several instances of black female characters who've taken the lead in boardrooms, on television, a number of examples. So this is a show that really, really gets it. And no, I'm not saying it checks all of the dots, but it does go a long way toward dealing with two dots, if you will, boxes that are largely feared of being checked by network television. The box of the strong, straight, black male lead who has a female companion who is white or Latino, as opposed to always black, and the white superhero female who has muscle and clear biceps and clear definition. That is a first. Both are first to have in the same program, the same television program. That is something to be applauded. And hopefully, in fact, I know it will serve as a foundation for the creation of other shows, not necessarily superhero shows, that aren't afraid to present people in the way that we see them in real life. Bravo.